Hello VIPs, this is Heather here from Mercantile, and this week we are here for our little director's cut in our special section of the members channel here. So glad to see you. Thank you so much for your subscriptions, and let's get into this oyster jar. So this week, the cheese board and the grapes are the little bonus projects that the VIPs get over here on Patreon. And we are going to be learning how to make this cute little cheese board. So I used pipe cleaners. You could probably use anything kind of solid. I don't really like using pipe cleaners because if the piece gets dirty and you have to wash it, like over time those are going to rust. I mean, your kids aren't going to play with it for that long, let's be honest. But, so I'm just showed here to attach it. I just placed that middle piece on there for just to guide this where I wanted them to go, but you'll actually just want to sew them to this one piece here as I showed. Don't sew the pipe cleaner to both pieces. So for this square inside bit, I did use a bit of craft foam. It was just really thin craft foam. You can use anything you want in there, extra layers of felt, just anything to give it a little bit of bulk. I decided to sew the inside circle first, just with a whip stitch, because I figured it would be much easier when trying to put it together, because it's already placed how I want it. And it was actually quite easy to make this board. Just make sure everything's covered and hide your knot on the inside, and just whip stitch the whole entire way around the whole thing. And that is the board. I love the color difference between these. It literally takes me about 6 hours to film these, so daylight changes as I go along. I try and keep it as uniform as possible. So this is for a tiny little Brie piece. I made 2 of these. So a cream colored felt with a white colored felt triangle, and that's just a whip stitch along the edge there with hiding our knots on the inside. And a good tip for these guys, when you get to the end, I always just give it a couple little extra stitches. And also, if you I sew them flat to get started, but then I put my finger in there to kind of hold the final shape that I want, because I find your stitches look a lot more even and the piece just looks more as it was intended if you kind of sew it in the form, in its final form. So down to the end, and then I just sewed the other little cream. That first stitch I actually put in between the 2 cream pieces just to anchor them together before I started doing with the white marker. So that is our top bit. Then we want to put the little end on, so it's a little white rectangle just down to the end. Then we will attach the bottom triangle. Just whip stitch the back of that bottom triangle, and then we'll whip stitch the V club twist. This turned out so cute. I'm so happy with it. It's just a little idea I had. I've been eating so much cheese lately, so I decided to make this video. Alright, our little triangle there, just whip stitch that. And we'll be leaving just the bottom corner open for stuffing. And hide the knot on the inside and whip stitch those edges closed. So I took the cream colored thread, and you can always put a tiny bit more stuffing in the end there if you need, but you don't want them to be too puffy, so you can fit them into the finished Brie piece if you want at the end. So all the way closed, and that's it. That's our finished little Brie hunk. And I made another one. And next is our wheel of Brie. So those two little chunks fit in there quite nicely. Ooh, get away. So I use the cream colored pieces and the cream colored thread, and I just whip stitch. You can keep your knot on the outside for this because it's going to be a little inside fold of the Brie. It'll be hidden on the inside. So with our white thread, take the edge piece and attach it to one end with a whip stitch. Then we will want to whip stitch that edge piece to the whole top part of this wheel here, plus the bee. And I am whip stitching along the cream bit using the white thread up to the top corner. Then we're going to attach the other round, except this time don't do the V portion because we'll need to stuff it. You can just use your fingers to try and keep it as flat as possible, and then just round out the edges. Make sure I didn't put too much stuffing in these. I like them to be soft. And whip stitch the final edge closed. And that's it with the two little pieces. You can take those out. You can do more if you want, but I just liked the look of the wedge. This is just a super basic cracker. I use the light brown heathered felt, and knot on the outside, just whip stitch all the way around, leaving a space big enough to flip it inside out. I use a tiny little space because I have the teeniest little fingers, so if you need more room, or use a stick or something to flip it. But I really like that technique of just putting my thumb and my finger together inside the piece. Like, it makes it really easy to flip. And just stretch out all the edges and do a zipper stitch to close up this little cracker. I like the look of the zipper stitch after you've done the whip stitch all the way around and flip it inside out, because it keeps them quite uniform looking stitches. If you were to continue with a whip stitch, you'd have a little edge on that one side where you closed it, and it just doesn't look as great. And I made 3 of them. Next is this cute little rice cracker. This was fun. I actually filmed the whole entire process, but it was way too long. I doubled up on my thread on this one, which I showed in the beginning there, and you'll just want to keep turning your piece. Make sure both the threads are pulled through and it's not bubbling. And yeah, keep doing that about 1,000 times until you get to this point. See, if you ever wonder why people charge so much for felt food, is because literally this one cracker took me about 40 minutes. And then you'll want to take your cream thread and hide the knot on the inside, and just go and finish the edge there by doing a whip stitch all the way around. And there it is, a little rice cracker. And again, I made 3 of them. So this is the little bonus grapes here. Honestly, I just wanted something tiny that could fill the plate in. If I was to do grapes, like an actual grapes tutorial, I would probably switch this up a bit. I mean, it ended up looking really cute, a little tiny little bunch of grapes, but I think in the future I could spend a bit more time on that pattern. And I just went through the end of each one and just attached it next to the one before it on the brown piece of felt. Wow, that even sounds uneventful. I really need to fix this pattern. And then I just cut the one end on a little bit of an angle and then cut the other end off entirely on the bottom. And then I gave it a little twist just for effect. And there's a little tiny bunch of grapes. So that's the whole plate there. In the other tutorials that I have a strawberry tutorial. You can find that on YouTube and Patreon as well. And then I have an apple pie tutorial for the apple slices. So thank you again so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Love you guys. See you soon. Bye.